This is once again my weekly live Facebook talk on relationships, how to get the love you desire. I'm gonna let it build up some more. We can it won't be long. We're gonna be straight to the point. Try to get right there so we can actually hear what we're talking about. Well, I'll get started because I know some people, if you're not on watching, you can go back and watch the playback. And if you have any questions, you can post it and I'll respond. But I'll say this. Make sure you get my book, The Journey to Get the Love You Desire Begins With You. You can get that via Amazon. I have another book also, The Best Way to Get the Love You Desire. That's actually a workbook. You can get that on Amazon as well. And make sure you subscribe to my YouTube page, which is titled, How to Get the Love You Desire. It's all put as one word. So if you just type in How to Get the Love You Desire by Brother Willie Muhammad, it will bring you there. So just subscribe. So I'm going to start adding some different things on the YouTube page that you may not see on Facebook. And today on my Instagram page, which is Truth Spreader, I just did the 1 second relationship tip talking about communication. So it's on there. You can check it out. So let's talk about this. I was inspired, or the idea for today's Facebook Live talk about relationships came from something I heard Jay-Z say. And I know I'm a Jay-Z fan, but I heard him say something very interesting on some of the behind the scenes footage as he was talking about the making of 444. He talked about how he grew up in the Marcy Projects, and he talked about how difficult it was, you know, seeing people die over some of the silliest things, police corruption, the drugs, and all of the stuff that we witnessed in the hood, right? Or in growing up in a housing development. But what struck me about what he said was that he said that he has found marriage to be more difficult than what he experienced growing up in a housing development. And that really made me think about things that I've heard the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan talk about as it relates to marriage. The minister said that marriage is second in difficulty only to Allah's self-creation of himself. And why this sticks out to me today is because I thought about how I first entertained or entered my view about relationships and marriage. We grow up watching these love stories and reading these novels, and we think that marriage is not supposed to have any difficulty. But if you talk to married couples, they'll tell you that you are going to experience difficulty. And this doesn't mean that marriage is not, you don't have moments where a pure joy and excitement. We do. But what makes us value those enjoyable moments is when we have survived those difficult moments. So we have to understand, brothers and sisters, that when we are interested in being married and even in a relationship, we're going to face difficulty. But we have to remember, as I heard a brother say this Friday in one of our self-improvement study groups, he said that we have to remember that this difficulty that we are experiencing in our marriage is only a moment that we are experiencing on this journey with one another. And we have to remember that. And I think sometimes we forget that. And we forget it and we don't do the necessary work to address it, and we overlook these problems and we put these problems to the side and to the back. And what begins to start happening is that we forget that this is a moment that we can work through. And that's one of the things that we have to remember. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan talked about how we often quit our marriages and we often quit anything that a goal that we're trying to accomplish when we allow the difficulty to extinguish our desire. And so when we go through difficulties, we can't allow that to stop our desire to be one, right? So what we need to remember is this. Remember why we got married. Remember we made a vow to one another that we are going to be with one another from sickness to health, to death do us part, to richer or poor, right? Think about that vow, from sickness to health, from richer or poor, till death do us part. In order for us to know that we really believe in what those vows are saying that we took, we got to face it. We got to have challenges. So we should not get married and think that we're not going to have financial struggles in our marriage. We shouldn't get married not to think that we won't have issues with our health in our marriage, right? Or we may even face the possibility of thinking that we may lose someone. All of these difficulties that present themselves in our marriages are an opportunity for us to show each other that we love one another. Oftentimes we forget that. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that no sailor gets on a ship thinking that he's not going to run into some bad weather at some point in time. And that's what we have to understand. So when we go through difficulty, remember when we got married. Those are the times to go and pull out that wedding album and look at the beautiful pictures and see how we were so in love, how she was gazing in your eyes on that wedding day, you gazing in her eyes. And then we have to ask ourselves the question, how do we get from there to where we are now? And what do we need to do to get back to that? And oftentimes what happens is that we stop doing those things that endeared the other person to us. So remember why we got married. Remember that this is just a moment on this journey for us to become one with one another, and know that we can overcome this. This is the opportunity where we need to begin to start going out and reaching out to older couples that can share with us how they overcame that obstacle. This is why we also need to go and begin to start picking up materials, listening to lectures, reading books where we can develop the skills. Something else Jay-Z said too. He said, one of the reasons why we are not successful is that we haven't been given the tools. And if you and I are honest, many of us have jumped into these relationships, jumped into these marriages, and we have done very little research on how we can acquire the skills that will help us have successful relationships. There is no mystery, God. If we don't prepare ourselves, if we don't get the knowledge that we need to help ensure, increase the potential of us being successful, we're not going to be successful. And we can't blame anybody but ourselves. I heard Iyanla Vanzant say this. She said that marriages and relationships are not destroyed by what takes place outside of them. They're destroyed by what takes place inside of them. So we got to look at ourselves. This is your brother Willie Muhammad. We're about to sign off. Make sure you go and get my book, The Journey to Get the Love You Desire Begins With You. Leave comments on the page. I think I'm going to do this because my schedule is open every Sunday right around 1 o'clock. So make sure you tune in. And also, please, if you found this to be beneficial, this video, share it. If you didn't find it to be beneficial, you don't have to share it. But if you found it to be beneficial, you think that others on your page can benefit from it, share it. And tell everybody else that to tune in on Sundays when we begin to start doing these. We're going to do these videos during that time. Get my book. Subscribe to me on YouTube. It's How to Get the Love You Desire. It's all typed as if it's one word. So this is your brother Willie Muhammad. May God continue to bless each and every one of you all. Peace.